Welcome to the Freedom Camp Podcast, rooted in truth, growing in freedom, and built on the belief that you weren't meant to grow alone. Each week, I'll share honest stories, insights, and simple questions to help you explore the unseen things that keep you from living in the freedom that's already yours. And take brave, intentional steps toward the life you were made for. This is your space to reconnect with your authentic self and grow in freedom on purpose. Hey there, welcome back to the Freedom Camp Podcast. This week, we started talking about the first week of Spirit Month. And what we focused on was looking at what holiness actually means to you versus perhaps what it looks like to me. And somewhere along the way, many of us have confused holy with hustle. We've confused sacredness with stress, and we've confused presence with pressure. And especially in December, we start believing that what is holy must be polished or impressive or perfectly curated. But what if holiness was never about perfection? What if holiness is actually the place where God meets you just as you are? Maybe you're messy, tired, overwhelmed. Maybe you're hopeful. Maybe you are centered and rooted and grounded. Maybe all of it is potentially a place of holiness. So in Freedom Camp, we started off listening to the Christmas song, or the Christmas story. It's a Dave Matthews song. I'll link it in the show notes below. It is a beautiful, beautiful song. And from that, after we listened to it, the question was, where have you confused pressure with holiness? And so today we're going to explore those two things, pressure and holiness, so that December can feel lighter, truer, and more connected to God. So oftentimes when you look at maybe the definition of pressure and holiness, and this is not Merriam-Webster's definition. Pressure says like, do more, be more, meet the expectations of others, get it all done, hold it all together. And holiness says things like, connect with me, come near to me, be present, and be with me. Pressure often comes from expectations. Maybe your own, maybe expectations of your family, your immediate family, maybe your outside family, pressure from work, pressure even from culture. And holiness comes from a place of presence, place of honesty, of truth, and of love. So pressure is demanding performance, and holiness is inviting connection. So I wanted to share perhaps some examples of what December might feel like for you. I know for me, December is often this weird mix of like, I just want to get through it. This is over the years. I just want to survive it. And that comes in part from the work that I have done for the majority of my life is often very heavy in December. A. B. Christmas, my birthday, my son's birthday, my mom's birthday, my stepmom's birthday, my sister's birthday, my brother's birthday, cousins, aunts and uncles' birthdays. And then all of the things that go with those, meaning A birthday is the day that it is. You can't change when someone's birthday is, basically. And so there's these deadlines and things need to be done at a certain time. I spent the majority of my, I guess, 20s and 30s spending my birthday making presents and wrapping presents for others because my birthday is just a few days before Christmas. And one of the first areas of freedom that I really started growing in was, how about I not spend my birthday only working and doing things that I really could have done earlier? And instead, I do something like go for a hike and just hang out with God and talk to God about the year that has just been, and talk into the future about what is to come for the next year. I typically always get a word that year. This was before getting a word even was like a thing. This has been going on for years and years. And ultimately, it's a it's a holy experience for me on my birthday to go for a hike and to just spend time with the Lord. So in December, though, oftentimes maybe we can feel like we need to get everything right. There's a lot of extra work. There's deadlines that you don't get to choose, like the birthdays, and that don't really work for your life. There's making maybe everything meaningful for everyone else, keeping traditions alive, trying to feel a certain way yourself. Maybe you're trying to get others to feel a certain way. And then inevitably, perhaps losing yourself in the quest to meet all of these demands. And by losing yourself, I don't mean like literally completely losing yourself, but I do mean maybe your needs are at the bottom of the to-do list. Maybe your workouts aren't happening. Maybe your planning time isn't happening. Maybe your time in the Word isn't happening. Um, and so none of these things are bad, but they aren't necessarily holy. And what if they were actually optional? What if God's presence and your connection to it is the only thing that is non-negotiable for this December month? When Jesus gathered his disciples for the Last Supper, he wasn't really concerned about the menu. He wasn't fussing over table settings or timing or whether everyone understood the significance of the moment, whether everyone felt the same way about it that he did, whether everyone was connected to perhaps the holiness of that precious moment. But he was concerned with how he was showing up. He was concerned with how he was loving others. And he was concerned with the truth that he wanted to impart. So Jesus didn't create this holy Last Supper moment by any external perfection. Maybe the bread was burned. Maybe the wine wasn't that good. He created it through his presence. So holiness isn't actually something that we need to perform. It's something that we carry. And the atmosphere of your December has far more to do with your inner world than with any outside circumstances. Of course, this is true for all the other months as well, but there seems to be a particular interest in holiness and connecting with the deeper meanings in this month versus the consumerism and the materialism and the gifts and all of that kind of stuff, and like that just be the focus. So this is hopefully where this is going to really start connecting with you, and where transformation is going to happen. So I've got some questions to ponder. Of course, if you can journal, that's the best. You can always come back, check this out again. And I'm going to put these questions in the show notes as well. So the first question is, what actually feels holy to you right now? Maybe it's silence. Maybe it's lighting a candle, worship, time outside, maybe fewer commitments, scripture reading, prayer. What feels holy to you? And the next question, what do you think you have to do that God has never required of you? Is there something you feel like you need to do that God is not requiring you to do? What about where might you be confusing pressure with holiness? Maybe there's a tradition you had growing up that was an attempt to connect with holiness. And maybe it did connect with holiness at that time, but perhaps the why of that tradition has been kind of lost along the years. And you're just doing the thing to do the thing, to check the box, rather than to connect with the holiness that it was originally created to evoke. And the last question is, what would December feel like if you honored what is truly sacred to you and God, not just what is expected of you? And for this one, I do get completely. Many of us do have expectations. We're not an island unto ourselves. There's work expectations, there's family, etc. And I'm not suggesting throwing the baby out with the bathwater or dropping the ball on everything. But I am suggesting exploring which of those expectations to meet and which ones to perhaps have a conversation to change. I am suggesting exploring how to not lose yourself in meeting the needs of others. And what if holiness had nothing to do with what anyone does or doesn't do? What if holiness is not the performance of a season, but it's the posture of your spirit? And what if the holiest thing that you might do in this season is rest? Maybe it's letting go. Maybe it's simplifying. Maybe it's showing up honestly instead of perfectly, but fake. So I'd like to quickly invite you to really bring this home, bring this in for you personally. What is one word that you could use to guide your month? Or three, or some small number. Maybe it's peace, or wonder, or presence, simplicity, reverence. What's one spiritual practice that would help you to connect with God, to connect with the holiness of this season? Maybe it's a prayer walk. Maybe it's morning stillness. Maybe it's a worship playlist or some journaling. And now, what is a boundary for you? What is something that perhaps you will do or something you will not do? Maybe it's an earlier bedtime. Maybe it's time each morning for yourself. Maybe it's prayer time, workout time, fewer commitments. whatever that is for you, the invitation and the encouragement is to think of what that would mean for you, and then set your intention and then do it. Keep that boundary. So if this episode was helpful for you, I would love if you would share it with a friend. And if you are interested in going deeper into this kind of work, Freedom Camp is actually opening its doors soon. We only open 3 times a year, and the next round is going to be beginning in 2026 on January 5th. We're going to have some exciting new offerings. And if you're curious, head over to the website, join the wait list. That's where all the updates, the details, and the early access bonuses go. Until next time, release the pressure, keep what's holy, and carry peace wherever you go. Thanks so much for listening to the Freedom Camp podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom Camp podcast, where we believe freedom is nurtured from within and grows when you tend to it. If this stirred something in you, let it take root this week and see what grows. And if you enjoyed this or found it meaningful, please give the gift of a review, share it with a friend, and leave a comment below. It helps us build this podcast community because we weren't meant to grow alone.